So presenting the Trend Talk is Manisha Kapoor, CEO of the Advertising Standards Council of India, ASCI. Since taking over the helm at ASCI, Manisha has been at the forefront of transforming the organization into a future-ready entity that works collaboratively with different stakeholders to protect the rights of consumers. She is a regular part of consultations on advertising policies with regulators and ministries. She has been instrumental in ensuring that advertising self regulation keeps pace with a fast, ever evolving landscape, especially in the context of digital advertising. So let's all welcome Manisha because she will help us answer what is the power in an ad and how can the private sector change the world of advertising for gender equality.
Good morning, and absolute pleasure to be here. And the lovely vibe and energy in this room is really good. And as you all had your coffee, I think I can get into my talk. Uh, when people think of the impact of advertising, and it's interesting to draw an analogy with something that you may have all heard of. It's a natural formation called the Grand Canyon. Heard of that? Yeah. So, to think of what advertising and the Grand Canyon may have in common is that the Grand Canyon has also been shaped, not through one or two, big events, but over millions of years by a river flowing through it, which chips away at it. And, it's every drop of that river that eventually shapes or gives a form to its environment. And if we think of advertising in that way itself, that every time you see an ad, it's like a little bullet of a message that's bombarding your daily life, and that has a big role in shaping our perceptions. Because advertising tells us what we must look like, what we must eat, what we must dress, what cars we should drive, and it's not just one message, but collectively. Advertising is this really, really powerful force that is shaping perceptions in society. There are some studies that estimate that all of us see between 4 and 10,000 ads every day. That's astounding to think what kind of influence that has, because we don't just see them for one day, but we see them every day, every week, year, months, and decades, right? So that's really the power of advertising. Now, of course, advertising is something that the corporate industry has huge investments in, and they want it to work better for them. That is the primary purpose of advertising, right? It must give them a great return on business. There are several studies which have shown that more progressive gender depictions in advertising actually lead to significant increase in brand recall, in brand equity, and even short-term sales, an increase of 20%. Now, if I were a brand manager, I would like those results ASAP on my brands. And therefore, it's not surprising that DEI is of interest to advertisers and marketeers, and a lot of companies are pursuing this seriously. But I think the challenge that happens is that sometimes in knowing what's good and what needs to be done, to be able to actually do it well, it's not really the same thing. And we see that a lot of attempts that are made to show empowered ads or more progressive ads also tend not to understand perhaps the nuances or the complexities of gender and gender dynamics. And I'll just give you 2 or 3 examples of how, in spite of very good intentions, sometimes advertising unfortunately reinforces some more stereotypes. A lot of ads, and I don't particularly in India, and I'm sure maybe in your parts of the world also, show that women are struggling with their families. They fight with their families to get their rights. Why should they have to fight? Why can't families be more supportive? Even for small freedoms like staying out at night, there's a struggle. Or you show, great advertising, let's put a man in the kitchen. And you put a man in the kitchen and he's just boiling some water for tea, and the whole family is like cheering and, wow, and, what a wonderful thing to put a man in the kitchen. But are we infantilizing men or cheerleading them for the minimum? Are we dramatizing that instead of normalizing their role, in domestic labor? So I think these are some of the questions and challenges, and therefore advertising tends to put a lot of the burden of progressive depictions on women rather than making it the collective responsibility of families or workplaces as it needs to be. But fortunately for advertisers, I think bodies like the Unstereotype Alliance, ASCI, we work a lot on these issues. We provide certain frameworks for them to be able to navigate this space. So I think the intent is there and the intent is in the right place, both from doing the right thing as well as from the perspective of getting better business. And I think bodies like the Unstereotype Alliance and ASCI are kind of fostering frameworks that can actually help advertisers do this job better. Yeah, so that's what I had to say, and thank you very much for listening. Thank you.